Yo, yo, yo. It is Thursday night. We're back. It's a cardio Thursday.
Yeah, that it is.
Yeah,
It's our audio game show.
the cardio game show. I have some underrated, overrated, or appropriately rated questions.
Perfect. All right, I got to ask though, what are all the boxes behind you for?
So you guys might or might not remember that I do a live stream every Friday on Whatnot selling golf clubs.
Yes.
Tomorrow is mystery box show.
Oh,
So we have 25 mystery boxes.
those are golf clubs?
They're golf related items. So
Okay.
bats and some of them they don't have golf clubs in them, but they have a ticket for a golf club. So
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
yeah, I had to get it set up because I don't have much time tomorrow. I got a
Yep.
bunch of stuff to do, but yeah, we're
Very
set.
nice.
Yeah,
Very cool. I'm just going to hit Baba here real quick when he says what's needed to be done and integrated 2008 Lexus. Oh my gosh, with the Mark Levinson system. That's a tough one, bro. That is, even though it's 2008, that's still sucky. Um, there's a chance that it's variable voltage at the amplifier. There's a good chance it's variable voltage at the amplifier. So I would test that first, is go to the amplifier and get the signal from the radio and see if it goes up and down with the volume control. You'd have to look at your input. If it does, then you're in luck. If it doesn't, then you're not in luck, in which case, and they don't make a radio for that if it has the screen. There used to be a company that I think made a little didn't radio for it, but that's one of those just like, this sucks.
yeah.
So you may need to go after the amplifier, but I would try to go before the amplifier first to see if there's something there. Now the other option is if it is a fixed voltage out of the radio, meaning it doesn't go up and down with the volume, and that signal carries everything, because sometimes in the Toyotas they don't. Sometimes they have like a signal for GPS and they have a signal for audio. But if it does carry everything and it's not variable voltage, you could always go with a DSP that has an external knob. So like any of the Audisons have it, the Arc has it, the Helix has it. They have the conductor, which is just a knob, in which case you're going to forego your steering wheel controls and the knob on your radio, but you get a nice clean signal from the radio itself.
You know what else has the knob?
Hmm.
The Dayton DSP.
It does for sure. Yes, might not have enough channels though,
Yeah, definitely not.
and it might not. Yeah. Anyways, those are kind of the options there to go with. Yeah. Good luck. It's
Godspeed.
data controlled. Okay, if it's data, then yeah, you're pretty much out of luck. Then you could always just do the knob. What's up, Fro? Or go after the amplifier. I would, if it's fixed, I would just do the knob. I think that would sound better, especially with
New
it.
car. Just get a new car.
I don't know if you can get it though, because it's got the touchscreen in it that controls the air conditioner.
No.
So
Just treat it like a boat and go around everything.
yeah.
Get the Bluetooth amplifier.
Velocity tempers are about to find out. Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just there, as everyone knows.
So how'd that go?
Oh, it went great. I mean, we had a great time. It was fantastic as always. Haley had a great time. She built her project.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah. Haley. So Haley was invited out. So she got to build the project that we'll talk about on Sunday.
Oh wow.
So yeah, she did really well. I don't want to give it away because she did, because it's hers to talk about. But
Right.
no, we had a good time. The class participants were great. Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of fun as always. So it was hot. That was about the only problem.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any sleep, as we often never do, because we were working all day and half the night trying to get stuff done. So we had we had the class participants have their project that they work on, and then we have a project that we're working on, which was a build for a guy by the name of Phil Cantu out of MTI. So me, Sage, a guy by the name of Herman, Fernando, Phil himself, and we all kind of collided into this truck and tried to get it all done. So it's a lot of work. It always is. So, but otherwise, it's a good time. Tired, very tired. Flight got delayed as always because apparently the flight got in an accident in Vegas on its way out.
What?
Still managed to land.
I'll wait till the next plane.
Yeah, that was just it. We're like, yeah, we'll wait till the next plane. That's all good. So, yeah, it was all good. Running a Kenwood 606 DSP, noticed I was losing sound from the entire left side of my car. DSP was super hot. 82 here today. Could it be unit is just too hot? Or there's something wrong with one of the speakers on the left side of the car. 82 is not a high temperature for the amplifier. It should be able to go well into the hundreds.
Is that the one that's meant to work with iData or something like that?
Yeah, that's no longer supported. So unless you
No
have
longer supported.
Yeah, so unless you have an old device with the software on it, you're pretty much out of luck because the Bluetooth stopped working on new devices.
Yeah.
So, if you have like an old iPad that can't update anymore, then you're golden. Otherwise, you're pretty much out of luck. And Kenwood is not coming out with a new one or anything like that. They just let it go. So
they pulled Google and like, yeah, we tried that. We don't want to do it no more.
Yeah. I mean, that's the typical Japanese excuse for everything. Oh, it didn't sell like crazy. So, left RCA could be bad. I mean, if you think that's an easy one to test. You flip the RCAs. You just do this, put right on left, left on right, and that'll tell you if that's the case.
There's so many things to troubleshooting that it's.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of weird that if it just happened.
Right.
So, but there again, if you want to check, RCA is a quick and easy check for sure. Just flip the 2. If that doesn't fix anything, put it back to the way it was and swap speakers. So put the left speakers on the right speakers on the left. But the thing is don't overdo it. Meaning don't do too many things at once. So, shorted to frame, speaker wire pinched to frame. Well, then the amplifier would just have a bad day if that was the case. It's not going to get quieter. It's just going to shut off.
I always just
Kenwood amplifiers automatically shut off if they get a short. So there wouldn't be lower. There would be just no sound.
Right. Which could be lower volume. No sound, lower volume. Same thing.
If I reverse polarity, could I then use my bass boost switch? No. You could use your bass boost switch regardless. You don't get less voltage if you switch like you're asking. And no, there's
just makes the speaker go the wrong way.
Yeah, just instead of going up and down, it goes down and up. It doesn't matter. It
just sounds a little bit worse.
I mean, it should sound the same either way. It's just whatever speakers that are not in that polarity, you could get a phasing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Or
you're just doing one or the other. I mean, it doesn't matter. But if in a system, like if one of them's reverse polarity,
if subs doing this,
right,
you pretty much no sound.
Yeah,
because now you've just created the biggest pair of noise canceling headphones ever.
Right. What's up, Fuego? Pacific North. Up there in Froze Hood.
I have a 2024 Ranger Raptor with the BO system. I'm adding just a sub and amp. What's the best and easiest way to tap into the factory system? So the easiest way is obviously to just tap into the front mid bass. The problem you're going to run into is more than likely it's going to have fake engine noise and needs to be turned off. Fake engine noise is there, whether you think it's there or not. You have to test for it. You need an RTA to test for it, or if you hook it up and you get done and it sounds like the subwoofer is going to explode and you have it, more than likely you have it because you have the BO system. That can be programmed off either using ForeScan which is the Russian software. You have to buy a programmer. You can get it off Amazon for $35, and you can start hacking your car. It's 2024, so that's always fun. Or you can go back to the dealer and ask them to do it. Usually they charge $120. That's just the usual hourly rate to do something like that. They will give you a hard time. They always do. They pretend like they don't know what it is. They're kind of dicks about it. Or the easiest thing to do is to not just amplify the subwoofer, get a multi-channel amplifier to power everything with a DSP built into it, and just use the A to B interface, which is A to the number 2, B, which would plug in, and then you wouldn't have any problems because it forgoes all that nonsense.
And you just use the sub out from the multi-channel.
No, you'd have to amplify everything.
Right.
So, but those are the problems you run into when you're trying to amplify something in a Ford is turning that nonsense off. There again, the easiest thing to do is to go to the dealer and have it turned off.
Yeah.
If you know a guy at the dealership, it's usually the best. This is something we run into all the time. Forescan will do it, but you have to be willing to hack into your car. So,
it's still under warranty.
Yeah.
And they're always, even though they need to fix it, they're always dicks about fixing it.
They're always
modified on it.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah. All right. I have a few questions here. It was busy at work, so I didn't get to have them. So you guys in the chat, help us out.
Okay.
Think of items that are either overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated in car audio. So I'm going to start us off with a few. Hopefully chat gets some. So I'm just going to start with strong mid bass. How do you feel? Overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated?
What do you mean by strong mid bass?
Like a powerful mid bass that someone might be after versus just a standard mid bass, right? So something that if you weren't running your sub, it could kind of give you something, a little bit of bass output.
Okay. I think people really overrate this.
Dude, you know what? I used to think the opposite, but this is one I kind of changed my mind on. I think it's overrated.
Yeah. I think, it's funny because Andy Waymeyer from Audio Frog often talks about this. It's like, listen, the mid bass is going to do what the mid bass does. You put it in a door. It's a free air speaker. If you get a good baffle, you seal it up. You don't seal it up. And by seal it up is you keep the front of the driver away from the back of the driver, not necessarily make it a sealed chamber. Just make it so that the front and the back can't deal with each other. And a couple other things, of course. You should get adequate mid bass out of the driver that will blend well with the subwoofer. But, a lot of these guys want to cross these mid bass over at 60 hertz.
Right.
And it's like, it's really not what they're made to do. It's a mid bass, not a subwoofer. So,
I am guilty. I cross mine at 80 hertz most of the time. But, 100 hertz is not out of the realm of what I might do.
Yeah. I mean, you need a mid bass. Hands down, you need a mid bass. But today the truck that we looked at, he had the 9-inch Morels in the door, and I don't know what he had those crossed over at, but it seemed a godly low because they were just, it was too much. It was muddy, and he had plenty of bass, but it wasn't working for me. I was just like, that's a little too much,
Right.
It just kind of mudded everything up in the front of the car that it shouldn't have done.
It can invite a number of problems. One is you need a whole lot of sound dampening. If you have too much mid bass, that's one. The second thing is it can sound muddy. When you have a pretty decent subwoofer system in the back, you rarely hear that once it's playing. Even if you have your subwoofer crossed at 50 and your mid bass crossed at 80 with a big gap, you still don't always hear the mid bass.
I'd like to have Dave say that to Brian Mitchell, that Class D amps can't make mid bass. I think he would probably laugh at you with that one because all his amplifiers are Class D, and he pretty much kicks everybody's ass with his mid bass. So, you know, I don't think that's an accurate statement by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, every SQ vehicle I've heard at finals, pretty much, I would say 80% of them are Class D. So, but that being said, there's, I feel like the subwoofer can make up. I feel like a mid bass now is better heard than felt, and I think a lot of people want to feel the mid bass. I just want to hear the mid bass, have it be enough to kind of just fill in the gaps, have the sound, versus just absolutely treating it like a little mini subwoofer in the door.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is each speaker has its place. So as long as the speaker is playing within its capabilities,
yeah,
that's what it needs to do. You know, a mid bass needs to make mid bass. It needs to make enough mid bass to where it will allow the subwoofer to blend with it and give you the upfront bass that everyone wants until, of course, you turn the volume knob on the subwoofer and that all goes away. But, you know, each speaker has its job, and if done properly, it should sound fantastic. You know, it's like it's a loud tweeter. You know, it all just kind of works, right? And if
yeah,
you get it wrong, it doesn't work. You know, every now and then I'll have a guy come in. He's like, when I turn my subwoofer down, I want my doors to just like hammer. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
sure, let's do that.
And I've had it like that. I've had systems like that where I just wanted to see what I could do output wise with the mid bass, but to me, it's a little overrated. So some people enjoy it more than others. Not that they're wrong to enjoy it. I just, in my opinion, it's a little bit overrated now. Whereas a couple years ago, I may have said the exact opposite. You know, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean it's fun.
Yeah. All right. Here's another one. What about tweeters in general?
Okay.
Overrated, underrated, appropriately rated. Ooh, Larry goes deep with the over. I would say they're underrated. For my portion of it, I think that the tweeter to me is almost the most important speaker in the system because it can really like make or break the sound. Even though you need a lot of sound out of your mids, if you have a bad tweeter or one that's too sharp or one that's too soft, it's gonna kill the whole system sound for me.
I mean, most people that come in, the first complaint they have is that their car doesn't have enough.
Right.
You know, that's usually the number one reason that they come in for, is that the dual cone speaker or the middler or whatever it is that's in the dash isn't doing what it's supposed to do, or the factory tweeter isn't active enough for them. So I think a lot of people put a lot into their tweeter. I don't know if it's like, oh my gosh, if you don't have this, no, but you need the right amount. But that is definitely the number one reason why most people come in.
You can go the other way. A lot of people with super tweeters or bullet tweeters go
way far
away, and it's just like, whoa.
I mean, that goes without saying. A good tweeter and a good mid bass can make an entire system sound amazing. Well, there again, yeah. I mean, it's the balance of everything
Right.
that brings the whole system together. I mean, if you get that wrong, it's going to sound like crap.
And I would argue that the speakers you're using are the most important part of the system. To me, you can do an amp on a cheap speaker, but you need good sound out of that's where almost all your sound's coming from. The subwoofer is just filling in bass.
See, I feel the most important part of the stereo is the DSP, because it doesn't matter what you have. If I can't do a tune on it, then you could have the greatest speakers in the world and it's still going to suck. I mean, in a perfect world, the speakers should sound great. Put some power on them, and here we go. And they'll sound wonderful. And they will. Most speakers will sound pretty damn good. But you have a tweeter up here in the sail panel or in the A-pillar. You have a mid-range in the dash. It's firing off the window. You got a mid-bass down low in the door. It's going to need some help.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's literally where you're getting all your sound from. So
I hide behind a shitty DSP. There you go. Or I hide my shitty gear behind my DSP. Either way, yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard guys with 4 6.5s and horns in each drawer painfully high. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
The thing about sound is that I'm not going to say it's subjective. I hate that term, but everyone has what they like.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody knows what that is. Like for some reason, people hear one thing and they'll be like, "Oh, I really like that," or they hear something else and go, "I really like that." So it's okay because there is no right or wrong answer. It's whatever you like. So the goal is to get to that without all of the nonsense of the internet or your friends getting in the way of it. So regardless of what I say or what anyone says, if you have a sound that you want or you like or you've heard and that's it, that's the goal. The goal is to not impress anybody else.
Yeah.
It's to make yourself happy. It's your money. So, if you like a tweeter that makes your ears bleed, by all means, get yourself a tweeter that makes your ear bleed. If you want the richest, strongest mid bass in the world, put 2 6.5s in the door and let that bitch play out, bro. I mean, why not? It's okay. There's no right or wrong answer to it. It's just whatever you like. Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go, Dave. Need voltage. Most people don't have enough. Correct.
Yeah. I mean, just get some more efficient equipment, or go into my next topic. Over 2,000 watts on a subwoofer.
I don't want to put 2,000 watts on anything. I don't even want to put 2,000 watts in a car.
That's what I'm saying. Overrated. I think it's overrated.
Today the truck that we did today had 2 Rockford T1 shallow 12s off of their mini power series 750.1. Beautiful box. Hammered. Oh my God, it hammered. Sounded amazing. It was sealed, which those typically don't sound good in sealed, but this thing just sounded amazing. And I was talking with him because he's actually a rep of mine. And he just hired this new kid to come work for him. And the kid, of course, had a 2,000 watt amp in his car, and he had, 2 12s of a brand that's local to us. And he was like, "Joe, my shit is dope." And he challenged the kid. He said, "I tell you what, here's what we're going to do. Let's take 2 Rockford P3s and a prime amplifier. And I guarantee you I can build a box and put this in your car, and it will outperform your 2,000 watt amp with your juggernaut woofers that you have in there that weigh 500 pounds a piece." They don't. I'm just saying. And after that, you're going to listen to what I tell you. The kid was like, "Good luck, bro." So they did it, and it was so much louder than what he had for many reasons. For many reasons. I mean, and MB talked about this on one of his shows where he was like, it's efficiency, non-efficiency. You buy these giant magnet things, you got to have this huge amplifier, and we all know that, like he says, there's not enough current in the car. So there's no way you're going to be getting enough power to drive it. So keep it simple.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before I started YouTube, I never had a subwoofer amp more than 1,500 watts, and the 1,500 watts was a stretch. And I was considering myself a full-on bass head then. Now I have a vehicle out there with 5,000 watts in it, only because of YouTube. Because I need the power to power the things that people want to see. If I didn't have YouTube, I would definitely have a 800 to 1,000 watt amp for a sub. 750 would be fine.
Yeah,
somewhere in that range. I think 1,000 is probably perfect for a sub for me personally. And then the other 500 watts, I'd like to have that towards the mid range.
Well, okay. So the best example I give is, you take a Honda Civic or Honda Accord or any Honda for that matter right now, it has a high pass filter on the factory radio. So it's actively crossed over before you even get to it. We can take a key 500.1 or a key lock if we're going to hook it up to something else. But the guy that shows up that has a 1500 watt amp that he just wants us to, high level to low level using whatever device, usually an LC7i or LC2i or LC whatever, or some other crappy thing that we won't put in. He's not going to get a good sound out of it, and most of that is just going to be wasted because it's going to sound. You're going to cross over at 80 hertz.
Yeah,
and the factory's crossed over, so like the sound floor on that thing is already way lower just to get any bass out of it. So you're going to take this big amp and you're going to get like 500 watts out of it because it's there's no way to get it back. Even if you turn up a boost of some kind, there's nothing in the amp to do that. You take this little 500 watt amp that has the ability to go in and correct the signal as much as it can. And all of a sudden now it's like, holy crap, that thing is amazing. Like that's so much bass because you're actually getting to use the 500 watts as opposed to not, because you haven't corrected the signal. Now, on the opposite of that, you can put a key lock in there, fix the signal, and then have way too much bass because you weren't expecting that. But then you run into a voltage problem because Hondas use, lawnmower batteries. So dial it back.
If you get a new truck, they at least usually have 165 amp alt or something in them.
Trucks do pretty well. We don't need a lot of we don't have a lot of problems with that. 5-star Thanksgiving. It's coming up, man.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving will be here before we know it, scarily enough, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm just tired of this rain. I'm done with the rain.
You guys are getting rain?
Dude, we've got nothing but rain for like 2 weeks. It's ruining my life. I feel like I'm in the Pacific Northwest.
My sweet spot is 1,000 watts on tweeters, 5,000 watts on mids, and 15 to 30,000 watts on.
That's hardcore. That's hardcore. Which kind of leads into my next one. Because I let's see, 100 watts per channel for speakers, whether that's 100 watts per channel, 8 times 106, whatever the setup is. 100 watts per channel on speakers. Do you think it's overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated?
I mean, I think 100 watts is. I mean, reality is 35 to 75 watts is what most amplifiers are doing.
Yeah,
that's adequate enough to power and keep things working the way they're supposed to.
Yeah,
100 watts is fun, but if you're running that into a passive crossover, it's going to be wasted,
right?
Because it's not there. If you have 35 to 70 watts of power and you have the right speakers connected to them, efficiency, power rating, whatnot, then you're going to get great sound out of it that'll probably sound better than the wrong speakers on a 100 watt amplifier. So, if you get this 100 watt amplifier and you have the wrong power handling speakers, then it doesn't do anything. I mean, if you look at the power rating on like a K2, I think it's 75 watts.
Yeah. Well, I think most of them are pretty low like that.
So, like, and they're 2 ohm. So, there again, now you have to make sure you have a really good amplifier that can actually play 2 ohm as opposed to an amplifier that just says it can play 2 ohm. Yay.
Yeah.
Those are always fun. I mean, like, for example, the Blackbird, Arc Audio Blackbird, we just put that in. We took out all of this crap and put that in, and it outperformed all of it because the car now has power to run it, so it's not trying to power 3 amplifiers. It's powering 1 amplifier. We took out the passive crossovers, so now they're gone. So we can actually get the power from the amplifier to the speakers. We know that the tweeter only needs a watt, maybe 2. So everything, the guy he's like, holy crap, like I have 1 amplifier now as opposed to this, and it sounds 100% better, and it's louder, and it's clean, and it sounds nice. And it's like, yeah, because it's all balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a world in which case the big amplifier is the coolest thing in the world. Like, I would love a Rockford Power 2500.1 and 1000.4 because that's just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I don't have a car I can put them in, but if I get enough batteries and maybe a motor, pedals, and
I got a T1504 for you, right, sitting right under my bed. I went straight in the back seat of the Mustang.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no. No, but those are the coolest amplifiers ever. They just look awesome. But I mean,
it's so big I don't have room for it in this room.
Yeah, well, the T4000 was the coolest. Like, hands down. The T4000 was like, holy shit. I would like one of those to hang on the wall. That would be cool. I have a 2000, but it's missing one of the panels.
Yeah,
it's missing that front cover. But the 4000 was always badass. But the current 2500.1 is pretty cool to look at.
Yeah,
and there again, there's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of cool amplifiers out there that are big. But
well, for my part of it,
yes,
I would say that it's appropriately rated, because even though you can be a more efficient and everything, you can have a smaller system. I like personally to have 100 watts because I can turn it down easier than trying to turn it up for somebody. So obviously the tweets, it'll probably be almost zero gain. Your mids, you may go a little bit higher, depending on what you want to do. I would rather have the power in my hands to dial back instead of having to try to dial it up a little bit. But that's personal preference.
Mm-hmm. Helix DSP versus Arc DSP. So obviously we sell both of them, like Melissa's talking about.
Yeah.
It's just two different mindsets. Like any DSP. Like, is one better than the other? No, they're not.
And I haven't played with Arc. They basically can do the same things, or is there features that Arc or Helix has that the other doesn't?
There's There's features that both do differently. So like, Helix has what's called virtual channels.
Yeah.
Which are just things that they create that are cool. Which can also add to some of the confusion when setting it up. However, you can set it up non-virtual channels, which then it just becomes a normal in-out scenario. They have, as far as like how the DSP handles, like if you want to do grouping, which grouping is really important. They both do grouping really well. They do it in different ways, but very similar as where they're located. The difference in, like, if you're connecting to a factory system, the Helix will auto DSP, but it only uses the 32 bands that it has for all DSP. So you tell it how many bands you want it to use of the 32 bands to fix things. And then you also have the ability to tell it how far you want to go up. So if like you want it to use 10 bands of the 32, but go no more than 3 dB up, that means it's going to pull everything else down. You have shelf filters located at the extreme. So band 1 and band 32 are shelf filters. Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because in an Arc Audio, every single channel that they have access to can be a shelf filter, high or low pass shelf filter, an all pass filter 1, an all pass filter 2, parametric. So every band is capable of being anything you want it to be. They have the 32 bands. They have the extra 7 bands on the main EQ portion of it. But outside of the main EQ portion of it, they also have an input EQ. And they also have a 3-band output EQ, meaning after you're done, if you, instead of having to go in and you have 3 bands of equalization, which is basically a low shelf, a high shelf, and a notch in the middle for mid-range that you can adjust any way you want. So what that means is if you get done tuning, which we're going to talk about all this on Saturday in the DSP talk, but if you get done tuning and you're like, oh man, it would be really nice if the tweeter was just, give me that little, I just want a little more. It's fine. So you can create a high pass shelf filter like that fast and go. So there is more EQ in the arc than there is in the helix, but they will both get you to the same point. If that makes any sense.
Well, and I feel like if you're at that level, you've likely played with most of these softwares.
Yeah.
Because that's like I would never dive that deep into a DSP. You know, I'm doing very basic things. I'm just trying to get, you know, something that I'll start with a curve and then just kind of tweak it the way I want. And as long as I can get a center image, I'm fine.
What if I build a system from throwaway Bose speakers? I mean, why not?
I mean, Diamore done 6x9s. I forget what the number was on that. Done like a 170 or something like that.
Why not? I mean,
yeah. So,
dude, I mean, back in his day and probably my day, they had those arrays that you could buy for the house that were fantastic. Not like they make now, but I mean,
right.
You know, why not? Go for it.
This is a good one.
Anything Class A can if it's good.
Sure. I will say this. Class A Bs, overrated, underrated, or appropriately rated in today's world.
So I think it's a tad overrated.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are buying crappy AB amplifiers.
That's exactly what I was hoping.
And they're thinking that they're getting good AB class amplifiers.
Mm-hmm.
AB is cool. Don't get me wrong. Give me Moscone all day long. I will love it and cherish it, and I will call it my friend. But you give me a generic class AB amplifier, and it's just a generic class AB amplifier. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not like you're getting the benefit of having this amazing amplifier for $150, where you're going to be like, "Oh, this is so awesome."
It's because it's cheaper to make those. Like a lot of the cheaper amps that you see under $100 that are Class AB, it's a cheaper design. It's an older design. You don't have to put as much output filtering on it, and you don't have, it doesn't have to have a switching power supply. It's just cheaper to make unless you make a good one.
So so El Fuego says, I really like the underrated, overrated conversation. Pro installation versus the neighborhood shade tree dude. So if I lived near El Fuego, I would take my car to him. Okay. Because I'm sure he would do a better job than some of the guys that we have to fix their shit. So I'm fine with that.
It could be like, dude, it could be so wildly out of pocket on both sides of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy part. Sure. Like, if you don't know this shop, like, luckily, like, they know 5-star, they see what you guys do, they know what they're going to get. But when you go to a shop that you haven't seen any of their installs, and, let's face it, some of the shops are still shady, like they were back in the day.
Yeah.
And shady shit happens. And the likelihood of the neighborhood guy doing something not shady is pretty low, I would say, unless it's somebody you personally know. If you personally know, you've seen what they do, that's different. If it's just like, oh, I got a guy that can do it better for cheaper, probably not.
Yeah, Rockford still makes Class AB. The power line. There are some really great guys. So the difference between a professional and an amateur, or DIY, so to speak, it should be that a professional can do it and not have it be an accident. Meaning this is the way it's supposed to be done. I can be in a situation and execute a task because I've done it thousands of times, and I know that if I do this, I get that. Whereas an amateur or DIY guy, usually it's like you get it by accident, and it's not necessarily repeatable. Again, that's supposed to be the difference. That's not always the case, because there are some DIY guys that could be professionals. That could be like they know their shit, and they will do a great job. They might not be as proficient, meaning as fast, and because they have a real job. Like I was talking to a friend of mine. He used to be a lawyer, okay, and he owns a car stereo shop now because he was bored out of his mind doing lawyery crap. And for some reason, he thought it'd be way cooler to become a car stereo guy. I'm like, but he was lawyering,
right?
And he was doing car stereo on the side. and he was good enough at it to where he's like, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. I'm going to be a car stereo guy. And like, he's great at it. He's really good.
Yeah.
But at some point he crossed over between DIY guy, professional. So it can happen.
Oh yeah.
Just how much money do you not want to make?
Right.
Yeah.
And this, I know people that worked at a shop, left the shop. They do it as the guy. They're just the guy. They go around and do the installs.
Yeah.
They're professionals. But like what I always say is, someone asked me to do an install. Like, this what's going to happen. One, I'm way slower than a shop would do it. That's the very first thing. Two, I don't ever have time to do anything. Like, I don't even have time to do my own installs.
Right.
Three,
me too.
Like, to make the amount of money that I feel like I deserve for an hourly rate would probably be 3 or 4 times what a shop is going to charge you. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it 3 or 4 times as slow. So it's like exponentially more.
Yeah.
For it to be worth me to do the install for somebody. And the last thing is, they're probably going to do it better at the end of the day.
Right.
Because they've messed with more cars.
Not necessarily.
Well, it depends on the shop, I think.
See, the problem is that the term professional gets just thrown around way too easy.
Right.
Like you said, makes a living at it. There's a plenty of guys that make a living at what we do. Most of the 911 videos that we do are people that do this professionally, which to me is insulting to me as a professional in this field, because this is their profession and they're doing it this poorly. So it's like, but there again, there's levels of everything. So, you have people that are really good. Like, think of a chef. There are some chefs that are amazing, Gordon Ramsay's of the world, and all those guys. And then you have, the guy that like sucks and can't figure out. He's at Outback and he's just murdering it every night, and I mean murdering, like killing it dead. It's like, that is the worst steak I've ever had in my life. And then you got my buddy John Catalano, who's been on the show. He cooks some of the most amazing shit in the world. He just does it as a hobby. But this guy could walk into any place and like make some of the most amazing food. But he's, there again, he might be a little slower. He might not, have, because for him it's fun.
Yeah.
And there again, I've always said, when your hobby becomes your job, you have to find a new hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a lot of guys, car stereo is their hobby. Keep it that way.
Yeah.
Because once it becomes a paying thing, it becomes a hassle.
Even just doing it on YouTube's enough to burn you out on it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when I did photography, people always wanted to pay me to do shit. And in the beginning, I was like, sure. Yeah. And then I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I want to have fun and do my stuff. I gotta take pictures of some dumbass kid or some crappy wedding, and I'm like, screw this. This is, for a couple $100 here and there. No way. I just want to have my fun. So, and there again, there's a lot of guys that are good like that. That it's like, yeah, you can, just pay me whatever, and I'll put your stuff in, and
yeah. Sometimes you genuinely know a guy that can do it, and it's going to be great. But if you don't know that guy and someone else is recommending, you better verify.
The problem is, a lot of customers want a 5-star install but pay for subpar work. It's a tough balance. Well, the real problem is when they pay for a 5-star install, the company made enough money off of it and they don't deliver. Because I know what a lot of these people pay for these installs, and it's not like it was cheap. In some cases, they charge way more than we charge. And we'll sit there and go, you paid what?
Yeah.
And it's cheaper for them to have us tear it all out and start over, which is what they're doing. But it's like, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's, it's silly.
Well, see, it's partly your fault, because they look at your install and they're like, oh yeah, this is what it costs to get this done. So then now Shady McShady can come in and be like, oh yeah, man, this is what it costs. Like, you see 5-star.
Yeah.
And they do the worst thing possible.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I feel for you, Melissa, because I mean, that's a lot of times where we're at. and then they end up paying twice. You know, it's like, oh, you guys are expensive. It's like, yeah, I know we are, and here's why. And they either pay it or they don't, but they're going to pay it at some point because more than likely they're not going to be happy. Time is a huge issue. Yeah.
And it's just like here, there was never a 5-star car stereo shop. The shops did solid work, but it was all basic installs, very basic installs, clean installs, basic installs, nothing out of the ordinary.
Right.
That's why, one, I was a broke kid, didn't have money, but that's why it's like, all right, well, I can pay them to put it under my seat on a little amp rack, or I could just put it under my seat on a little amp rack myself. Horribly at first, but after a while, it's just we didn't have the aspirational shop that was doing just crazy installs.
Yeah, but there again, nowadays there aren't a lot of shops that are doing crazy installs. I mean,
right.
We just want people to do installs that don't suck. I mean, this vehicle today, I mean, all we had to do was fix the front stage. So it was the rep's car. He just wanted us to put new dash speakers in and new tweeters in. And the amount of stupid that was involved in those two things, I didn't want to go any further because I knew I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell? And I know who it is. Like, I know the guys that did it. I'm going, this sucks. Like, what were you guys thinking? This is terrible. But hey,
if you know what you're going to get, luckily, like, you guys are out there, you're on YouTube, people know what they're going to get. So when you tell them a price, they already have an idea what it's going to be mostly. I'm sure you get a bunch of customers that never seen a video, but I feel like a lot of people kind of know what they're going to you for. They have an idea of what it's going to cost.
Yeah, but and that's a funny thing because that's not anything unique to us. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I have taught more social media classes. We were talking about this the other day. Since like the last 5 or 6 years that we've been going to Knowledge Fest, we have taught a social media class. I went out to Mobile Solutions and I taught a social media class. I'll be going to Atlantic City next month and I'll be teaching a social media class. We have literally spoon-fed people how to do this. I mean, it's like we've made the class like all you have to do is this, and press upload, and you too can have a database of stuff so that your clients will be able to go, oh, I want that. And they still don't do it. And you're just like, okay, because people are willing to give them money to do subpar work and they're cool with it.
Right. Yeah. Let's see.
Not anymore. Like, I don't know. I don't want to do 50 radio installs ever again for the rest of my life. Never. I don't even want to put one in.
Yeah. I don't mind doing my own stuff, but that I just really YouTube kind of sometimes takes enough joy out of enjoying car audio for me that if I was to start doing other people's installs, it would just like I wouldn't want to do anything at all.
So out in Vegas, Bubba has Andrew Evans, who has what's the name of his shops? Mike Rios and him are buddies. They go there all the time. But that guy is crazy. Like, he is awesome what he can do.
Yeah.
He can build anything. And I mean anything.
Yeah.
And like, it was funny because we built those displays for Kenwood to do the classes that we taught. And they were like, hey, can you do this? And I go, no. But you're going to be in Vegas I know a guy in Vegas. He can just bring him over to the event when we get there. I'm like, yeah? And I was like, yeah, call Andrew. And Andrew will take care of it for you. And he did. And they looked fabulous. And I was like, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, every city is different. I mean, of course, obviously population. That guy's booked up big time, though. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does a lot of big projects.
Well, that's so a lot of just say Mark Cardio Fab, a lot of his, intricate box designs and stuff like that. To me, that's interesting for me to look at and kind of learn the process, or even a lot of stuff that Mobile Solutions kind of does in general. But I would never want to install like that in my vehicle nowadays because I'm a lot like Christian, where I want to test a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So something that's stationary is like, it's not for me personally. It has to be somewhat modular so I can swap in and swap out.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole purpose of the car stereo lab, is so that
Right.
we could, we're not going for the cleanest install here. We're going for the most feasibility. We want to make sure that we can, if we have to test this amp, we can. If we have to test this DSP, we can. So it wasn't about, it was about usability, which is same thing. I mean, you need to be able to pop something in there, like a warhorse that we're not supposed to talk about, even though there's pictures everywhere. Yay. Um, Stupid. And it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's
Right.
and there's as far as like he says, we do big numbers every day. Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, I've worked for we do big numbers, but I don't want to do. I don't know what a big number is.
Right.
And I don't want to do. I mean, if we work on 3 cars a week, sometimes that's a big week. But we're working on those 3 cars all 6 days.
Yeah.
So, I got guys, some of my friends are like you, they show me the cars they're doing. I'm like, damn, that's awesome. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work that hard. I'm past that point in my life.
It's all about perspective. I mean, you could have a car audio channel with 106 million subscribers, right? That gets very low views, or you could have a channel with under 25,000 subscribers that has a more passionate fan base. It's like, it's just what are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, there's all that. Nice install for something special is 2 to 4 days minimum, and figure 150 an hour. So figure between 25 to 5,000 depending on what you want. Yeah, that sounds about right. Fernando ended up with a Volkswagen Taos, little SUV.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, he loves it. Every day he complains he misses his car. I'm like, dude, you wanted an SUV.
Insurance company, man.
He loves his SUV. He's like, I don't know, I love it. I just miss my car. I'm like, oh, easy there. Got to have 2 cars now.
Yeah.
I like making more money for me, not the shop.
Yeah.
So, because nice.
Well, it's cardio's all but dead here as far as shops. There's a couple shops, very small shops now, not like what it used to be. And there's actually a really good little shop that does basic installs, sells budget gear for people. They have some high-end stuff, but not much, mostly what people around here will buy and pay for. So,
well, I mean, so I was talking to the guy at Master Tech, really nice guy. We had a great conversation. It was between classes, and he's like, I come to Master Tech, I help Brian. I don't go to the classes. I did the first year, but none of this is going to move the needle where I live. And I was like, well, where do you live? And he's like, our town has, like 25,000 people. That's it. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, so, the customers that we get, we do this stuff. None of this matters. It's like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, he goes, so I do just fine for myself. And I don't know where this is going to help me. And it's like, it's probably not going to. So you have the right thought process there. But there are things, like I started talking to him about a laser and how to draw CAD stuff on a laser. And he was like, oh shit, I didn't think I needed any of that. But the stuff that like we're doing with the laser made a lot of sense to him, because he was like, yeah, that's stuff I'm dicking with the hard way now. So, because everyone thinks that it's, lasers for building all this, that. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but you can also make your installation easier by making these tweeter brackets or making these paper brackets.
There's a lot of practical applications.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the shop I'm talking about here is River Valley Electronics. They do a lot of stuff, like they'll do screen installs for dealerships. They do a ton of that stuff, a ton of small stereo upgrades for used car dealerships, and that's kind of what they're doing, a little bit of everything to kind of stay in business around here. So there's only a few. There's only a few left here, and that's one of them.
It says, did Paul take over another suite when you went to the showroom? It didn't have stuff packed this in. No, the whole purpose of moving was to go to something where we could actually have a big enough stock room so that the stuff wasn't just piling all over the floor like it was. So, the new building has more room to put stuff away. He's poor at it, like he still sucks at it, but
yeah.
it does have more room to do that. So that's kind of nice.
And
It's a
you guys
fine
are
line.
still working out the same install bay, though, right?
Oh no, the install bay didn't change. No,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
would it?
It's
You know,
just the show floor change.
well, we don't need any more room. I mean, I mean, sure, I would like more room, but it's not like it's the reality is we're doing as much work out of there as we can, and they're I'll hire somebody else. Like there's no room for somebody else, and
Yeah.
then I would have to manage that other.
There's no room in Dean's patience for somebody else.
Now that's the other thing too, is I'd have to manage that other person, and it's like, no,
Like, listen,
good.
Dean thinks about choking Fernando at least once a day. It's got to be.
No, that's not true. That's not true. No, that's the great thing about working with him is that, he's not that. I mean, he knows exactly what he needs to do. And he does it, because we've been working together long enough that it's like, okay, here's the scenario. Let's do this. And so we'll do it. But, you introduce somebody else into that, and then I got to train that person. And it's like, oh my God, kill me now.
Training is tough.
Yeah.
That's the one part, that a lot of people don't get. It's like, listen, it's harder to train somebody than do it yourself. Way harder. And if it's something that takes them a while, it's tough.
Yeah. Midnight Munchies. That's really not what we do. No, we don't get a lot into that stuff.
I'm sure there's a shop in Florida that can handle that.
I was just trying to think of who's in Winter Haven.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of who you could call that would know. I would probably look up a guy named Mike Eckley on Facebook. He works for MSC. He's been a rep here in Florida for a long time. He would probably know who to contact. You'd probably direct message him or something and ask him who would be good in Winter Haven.
Yeah.
But that's probably Eckley. Yeah, Mike Eckley. Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to work for AMP Global. So when you're looking through the About section, now he works for MSC. So, but he would probably have a better idea of who in Winter Haven would be the shop to go to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I don't, I can't. You might know some, but I can't think of like any big cardio, like base head shops that do just base head installs all the time. I'm talking like
I got a friend named Al that I've gone to a couple trainings with. Really super cool dude.
Yeah.
And he does base head builds, man. Oh my God.
Cool. Oh, that's cool because like the only ones I know are like individual builders kind of.
No, he does base head builds. I follow him and I'm like, holy shit, this guy is just building crazy stuff. We actually have a place here in Florida that does that. We have a couple places here in Florida that do that. So it's there are a couple. So it's weird. Like one of the places here in Florida will do it. There's a couple places down in like depending. So one of my buddies, Jethro Eason, who's been a base head forever. He was on like Elma Gates guy and all this other crap. Base heads probably know him. I've known him and his brother Ed, and they do base head builds, along with regular stuff. But they, he's got a freaking Tahoe that is it's insane. It's insane. Like all. So he makes Jet Eternal, I think is his brand. JET Eternal. He uses a lot of concrete audio because that's a guy also down here. But yeah, so there are some bass head guys that'll just build your bass head stuff.
Yeah, so the guy that I usually have build boxes for me, he's got his own shop.
Yeah.
Josh, and he's going to be doing a bunch of bass head builds, which is cool. I mean, he's been doing them forever, so.
We got a couple guys that do like the door panel guys. These guys make door panel. Like I got this one dude that comes in. He buys all his loudspeakers from us, and he makes some of the coolest door panels. Like, and I just look at him and go, dude, man, like you make some of the craziest, with the 200 speakers and all that crap. He's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, thanks. I'm like, no, you're badass. Like, I don't want to do that. So
does he make square speaker holes?
What's that?
Does he make them for square speakers?
I'm sure he'll make them for whatever your money will allow. So,
man,
and he's really good at it. So that's all good. But yeah, they're hey, it's a wide format, so whatever you're into, there's a guy that'll do it.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're in a big enough place.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm a bass head as well. I still consider myself a bass head, just not on the level that the current guys are. They're well past my bass head level.
Yeah, that's like,
they're legit. Like they're. I would consider a lot of people that are just considered regular bass. I would consider them professional bass heads. As much money
there are some professional bass heads
that they put
for
in their
sure.
system. It's like
like when you're walking around SEMA and those guys in the parking lot, those are professional bass heads.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Gately would be one that's doing it big, kind of doing those.
I don't. Oh, like Johnny Boland out of Texas. He's still there. He's a sales guy now. If that's who you're asking about. But yeah.
All right. We have another show. If you like to hear us talk about different nonsense. And we've talked about car audio this whole time. Pat myself on the back. We're not going to talk about car audio in the next show. So
no, we're not.
Yeah.
No, his shop did close down, but he's located to another shop, and he's a sales guy now, and he's killing it. He was up for top 5 salesman last year at Knowledge Fest. He's doing pretty good. So there you go.
That's it.
So thank you guys so much for playing along.
And we'll see you next week. Unless Dean's going somewhere.
No, I'll be home next week.
All right. We'll see you next week then. Later.
All right, man. See ya.